Welcome to The Explainer. I am so excited to have you here today. Look, get ready because we are about to take a deep dive, literally, into an environment that is so foreign, so deeply mysterious, and honestly so fundamentally hostile to human senses that it genuinely feels like we're exploring an entirely different planet. Today, we're unpacking what I've discovered is Earth's ultimate unmapped frontier. We're going to cover both the absolutely bizarre biology surviving in the crushing blackness down there and the highly credible anomalous phenomena that elite military personnel are reporting in those exact same waters. It is wild.
Okay, let's dive into this. Because the very first thing the deep ocean takes from us is our certainty. Up at the surface, vision leads the way, right? Sunlight gives us absolute boundaries, absolute confidence. But the second you start descending, all those rules, they just completely change. The light fades away. That familiar blue turns into a dark that your eyes kind of don't even want to trust, and the ocean just begins to strip away everything that makes us feel secure. Down there, distance stops feeling measurable, and the pressure, well, it arrives like the crushing weight of a whole other world.
And to really wrap our heads around just how alien this environment is, check out this staggering statistic. 75% of the Earth's seafloor remains completely unmapped to modern standards. Think about that for a second. We actually possess better, more detailed maps of the surface of Mars than we do of our own planet's seafloor. There's just this massive, totally uncharted territory sitting right beneath us.
Hey, if that doesn't blow your mind, this definitely will. Barely 5% of the ocean's actual volume has ever been explored by remotely operated vehicles. Just 5%. You know, it's so easy to confuse mapping the flat seafloor with actually exploring that massive three-dimensional water column. The sheer terrifying scale of our ignorance about all that water is hard to even comprehend. We are talking about a gigantic universe of darkness right here on Earth, holding secrets we haven't even begun to uncover.
Since we rely so heavily on our eyes, it's honestly tough to even imagine how life operates in that 95% of unexplored void. Down in the deep, the rules of sensory biology are completely ripped up and rewritten. Where eyes fail, the ocean becomes a place that has to be sensed rather than seen. Sound, smell, and incredibly faint chemical trails, those become your primary tools for survival. Animals actually follow pressure waves and trace tiny vibrations through the pitch-black water just to hunt, hide, and communicate.
Once you drop past that 200-meter mark into what's called the twilight zone, the world basically becomes this hazy screen of dark blue. Down here, color isn't just a characteristic anymore, it's a direct signal. Silence becomes your absolute best camouflage. And movement? Movement is a deadly warning. It's an environment where a shape might be close or it might be far away. It might be alive or just a shadow. Visual deception isn't just a neat trick down there. It is often the absolute only way to survive the crushing dark.
And man, the biological aliens that have mastered these rules are simply spectacular. Take jellyfish, for example. Down in the deep, they aren't hunting by speed. Instead, they just drift, acting as these massive, totally invisible stinging nets, basically turning empty-looking space into a living trap. And then there are sea angels. These things blew my mind. They look like these tiny, fragile little spirits drifting gracefully around. But hidden inside those transparent bodies, they have incredibly precise, violent feeding tools that snap out to grab their prey. Oh, and we can't forget the deep-water sea slugs. Turns out, they literally steal toxins and stinging cells from the stuff they eat, hoarding those poisons, and then advertising how deadly they are with impossibly bright colors in the gloom. It is literally pure fragility and beauty, masking incredible violence.
So the crucial point is, to survive in this pitch-black void, life literally had to invent its own light. Bioluminescence is basically the language of the deep. It's the production of light by a living organism, and it is used as a highly complex tool. A faint little pulse can warn off a rival, attract a mate, scramble a predator's depth perception, or act as a deadly lure, drawing curious prey right into a waiting mouth. Living light is both the ultimate tool and the ultimate trap.
But you know, perhaps nothing demonstrates survival in the deep quite like the absolute masters of disguise. Cuttlefish can literally expand and contract living cells right beneath their skin to instantly mimic the texture, the color, and the pattern of the seafloor. It is a moving performance of survival. And octopuses, well, they use their total lack of bones to just pour themselves through impossible cracks. When they're threatened, they shift colors, blast out dense ink clouds, and effectively edit what danger sees, essentially erasing themselves from a predator's memory before slipping away into the void.
Now, what's really interesting about all this is that the whole concept of aliens takes a massive shift when we look at it through the lens of human exploration. We have this profound quote from Admiral Tim Gallaudet, a retired Rear Admiral and former oceanographer of the Navy, who plainly stated that we already have aliens in our oceans. When he says that, he's definitely pointing first to that bizarre, stark white, unearthly biology thriving around highly toxic hydrothermal vents miles deep. But as a high-level military official, his definition of alien in the ocean extends far beyond just biology. Which brings us to a massive narrative-shifting question. If evolutionary biology can craft creatures that completely trick our senses, what happens when advanced, highly classified military sonar and elite Navy personnel encounter things in the water that completely defy our understanding of physics? What else is hiding in the dark?
To really unpack this, we need to clearly define two terms: USOs, or unidentified submerged objects, and UAPs, unidentified anomalous phenomena. According to credible sources within the defense community, these are crafts or entities operating in our airspace and our waters that exhibit technology far, far beyond any known human capabilities. We are talking about objects operating with absolutely zero visible flight control surfaces and no detectable propulsion. None.
What is absolutely fascinating here is that these aren't just, spooky campfire stories from sailors. We have highly credible military personnel using literally the most advanced acoustic and optical tracking systems on the entire planet, recording anomalous objects in the ocean that challenge everything we know about engineering and physics.
Take this genuinely chilling account shared by a nuclear submarine officer operating in the North Atlantic back in the 1980s. The seas were incredibly rough. We're talking 40-foot waves creating massive acoustic noise, which usually makes passive sonar detection nearly impossible. And yet, they picked up an unknown contact. Minute 2, the object rapidly closes in. It's holding a constant bearing, the range is decreasing. It was the exact terrifying profile of an incoming torpedo. Believing they were under attack by the Soviets, the sub dove to crush depth, the absolute structural limit of the boat. But the object didn't strike. By minute 10, it effortlessly slowed down, took station right at the sub's stern, trailed them perfectly in the dark, and then just rapidly departed at impossible speeds. And this brilliantly illustrates that the submarine encounter wasn't just some isolated incident. It's actually part of a heavily documented pattern of military anomalies. The USS Omaha tracked spherical crafts, buzzing their ship before splashing down into the ocean entirely seamlessly. Then there's the infamous Go Fast video that leaked from the Navy's classified SIPRNet, which captured a sphere zooming over the water without any wings or exhaust. And perhaps most intriguingly, sources note these UAP and USO sightings heavily correlate with nuclear-powered aircraft carriers and submarines. It strongly suggests these anomalies might actually be drawn to our nuclear technology.
Which, of course, begs the ultimate question, right? If we have the advanced tracking systems logging impossible speeds under the water and highly trained military observers are verifying it, why is all this data being kept from the public?
Let's move to and see how this builds into a much larger picture. According to Admiral Gallaudet, this feeds into an active campaign of government secrecy and disinformation used to obscure the data. Historically, as detailed in the book Project Beta, intelligence elements allegedly manipulated civilian researchers to basically make them look crazy, thereby stigmatizing the whole topic. More recently, Gallaudet notes that executive branch policies seem to direct offices like AARO to release flawed, mandate-failing reports that intentionally obscure what the government actually knows. Furthermore, he points to active, ongoing media campaigns deployed specifically to discredit verified, credible whistleblowers who try to come forward.
But you know what? The tide is turning. Because of this alleged obfuscation, civilian scientists are stepping up to the plate. They are now bypassing government secrecy altogether to study these anomalies directly. Initiatives like Harvard's Galileo project are building their own networks of observatories and sensors, relying strictly on rigorous scientific methods to search for non-human technology. They're basically removing the intelligence agencies from the equation and taking the search directly to the data. This is absolutely crucial because it means the search for truth is no longer just locked up in classified intelligence agencies, it's moving out into the public scientific domain where it belongs.
Which leaves us with this final, profound thought to chew on. In an environment where survival demands the ultimate deception, where biology invents its own light and edits its own shape, and where our own highly advanced military sensors track crafts we simply cannot comprehend, if we as humans have truly only explored 5% of the ocean's volume, who or what is occupying the other 95%?
Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope this leaves you as fascinated by our deep, dark oceans as I am. Keep questioning the unknown.